Welcome to Beyond Bridge, the podcast where courage meets community. We shine a light on the stories, science, and support that define the breast cancer journey. From survivors and thrivers to doctors and advocates, we're here to share real conversations, expert insights, and the hope that carries us forward. Whether you're newly diagnosed, a lifelong fighter, or walking alongside someone you love, this is your space, your voice, and your story. Okay. Three, two, one. Welcome to Bridge. Today's guest is Beyonka Adams, and Beyonka is a breast cancer survivor and thriver. She had hormone-positive invasive ductal carcinoma. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. So you're here with us today. I'm so glad that you're able to come in to be with us. Tell us a little bit about your personal journey with breast cancer. How did it start? How did you find out? And how did you navigate your journey?
It's kind of interesting how I kind of initially was found out. I was at work one day and I was kind of having it was kind of hurting to breathe. And I was like, that's not normal. So I went to, and it just kind of persisted throughout the day. So I went to urgent care and they did what's called an x-ray, just make sure my lungs are good and everything. And they were like, well, we don't see anything. We recommend you maybe go to a pulmonologist. So I said, okay. So I went to a pulmonologist. And by then I hadn't really been having any more pain or anything. So I just was kind of going, I guess, just to make sure nothing was, everything was good. So I went to a pulmonologist and, of course they do all the testing for asthma, those different type of asthma and all those breathing tests. So nothing was wrong there. And he was like, well, we don't see anything. So maybe we do a CT scan. And I was like, well, okay. And the CT scan just kept getting pushed back. It was scheduled one time and then it got pushed back because that was in November. And then my CT scan, I think I ended up getting it in December because they kept, I want to say December or January because they kept pushing it back because something was wrong with the machine. And then, so by that time I was fine. I was like, well, I'm not even going to get it. And my mom was like, well, no, just get it just to make sure everything's good.
So hold on a minute. You had symptoms and you went to get the symptoms checked on.
But I don't know if it was symptoms of breast cancer. I think it was just,
I know. Okay.
Right.
But whatever symptoms you had those checked on. And then you no longer had symptoms.
Right.
And you were scheduled for the CT scan and you're like, oh, I don't need to do this anymore.
Right.
Oh. So what happened after that?
So then my mom's like, well, just go anyway. So I was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and do it. And so I went and had my CT scan. And then they called me back and they said, well, they saw a spot in your left breast area. So we recommend you to get a mammogram. And I was 39 years old. So it wasn't time for me. I hadn't started getting mammograms yet. So I was 39. And so I was like, okay. So then but my mammogram wasn't scheduled till February. So this was probably in January, and they had scheduled a mammogram out. It was February 15th, I believe, is when I was supposed to have it. And this was probably maybe a week later. I would say maybe a week or two later. I was laying in bed, and I don't know how, I just happened to touch my chest, and I felt something. I was like, and I never felt, I didn't do regular breast exams or anything like that. But I don't even know what made me even feel, how I even felt it, because normally that's not something I would have felt. And I was like, and I told my husband, I was like, feel this. And he was like, well, I don't feel anything. I'm like, you don't feel this right here? And he was like, no, I don't feel anything. So I was like, well, I'm going to make an appointment with my gynecologist. So I did that, and she's like, well, yeah, I do feel something there. And she's like, and I told her, I said, well, they did. I had a CT scan, so I told her about that, and that, I had a mammogram scheduled. She's like, well, I'm going to request a mammogram as well. What's it called? I can't think of the name of it, but not just a regular mammogram, but a diagnostic mammogram on your left side. So they did so they did the mammogram. So she scheduled it too, so I ended up having my mammogram in February. And then I just felt like the the pulmonologist, he called me back, and he left a message actually on my voicemail. And you know, because he called me, and I didn't know the number because I usually don't answer phone numbers I don't know. So I didn't answer the call, and he called back, and I was like, I don't know who this is. So I didn't answer, but then it was a Friday, and matter of fact, this was a Friday evening, you know, when he called. So I listened back to my voicemail, and you know, he said, you know, was cancerous, because when I talked to him before, like when I met with him, right after, I want to say maybe it was right after, and I said, well, what else? I was like, well, you know, what if it's not cancer? He was like, well, normally, you know, when you see something like that, that's usually what it is. Like, it's not normal that you would see a spot and it not be cancer. So I was like, well, okay. And he's
so
like,
a pulmonologist told you that you could have possibly had cancer initially.
Yeah, okay. He initially told me. And then the radiologist, is that who it is? Who usually calls? I think that's who it was, the radiologist. So they had me come in, you know, to talk about my results. And so I had knew, but I didn't, because he told me on my voicemail. So I pretty much knew that's what it was, but I didn't I didn't say anything to anyone. Mm-hmm. And then I think I had my appointment maybe the next week for when the radiologist called me in. And I went in there with my husband and my mother-in-law. We went in there, and I had my sister. She's a nurse, so I kind of had her on the phone as well, so that, you know, to answer, so she could help ask questions. And that's when the radiologist had told me as well, because I forgot this part. They did do a biopsy. So after I forgot about that part. I'm sorry. That would be key. After the mammogram, then I had to come back the next day, because they only did biopsies on Thursdays. So I had to come back the next day to get a biopsy. And then that's when they, I guess, to test it and make sure. Then they called, and then I had an appointment to come back. And then that's when they told. But he had already, because I guess he was able to see the results of the biopsy as well. So he told, you know, he called and left a voicemail, my message.
He being the pulmonologist? The
pulmonologist. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the radiologist, she, of course, told me that day. So that was February 20.
Okay, so you had the biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
So now what is the treatment plan? What happened after that? Because it took you a long time from November to
right.
We're in February, March now?
It was late February. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so from November to February, mm-hmm. we still don't have, we're trying to figure out what's wrong.
Right.
And so we finally get to the biopsy, the mammogram, and all that stuff, and mm-hmm. we get a diagnosis.
Right.
So what then?
So after that, then I was referred to a breast surgeon. So I went to meet with the breast surgeon, and then she had me I had to do a breast MRI. And so I did that, so that way she could kind of see, I guess, what all was there. So it ended up I had two different tumors. So then she pretty much talked about, you know, what the options were.
Was this caught early, or
it was stage 2?
Okay,
stage 2. So I guess maybe kind of early enough. Yeah, I guess
stage 1 and 2 are pretty early. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So yeah, it was stage 2, and so they were able to. So I ended up having a left. I just had a unilateral mastectomy, so I just had my left breast removed, and so yeah, that because we talked about. I mean, she pretty much gave me different options. Pretty much the mastectomy was the best option. Well, what she recommended, because I asked about lumpectomy. She was like, mm-hmm. well, you know, she really doesn't want to do a Swiss cheese approach, is kind of what the word she used, which mm-hmm. I guess makes sense, because by being 2 different tumors and, you know, 2 different areas, you would kind of have to, and they were kind of close to each other, so it would have been, I guess, a large amount, and mm-hmm. so I just went ahead and went with the mastectomy. So
you had mastectomy on one side?
One side,
yes.
One side.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Reconstruction too, or?
Yes, I did. I had, they did initially put in a expander, mm-hmm. and I started having issues with that. It just fluid kept building up, because it was really it was swell, and mm-hmm. I would have to go in, and they were take a needle and pull out. They were mm-hmm. pulling out liters of fluid. So then in November, so that happened. I had my mastectomy in April, and so I got in November. This was 2023. In November of 2023, then they took my expander out, and I had an implant inserted.
How is that implant been for you? And the reason why I ask is because it's a foreign substance, a foreign article in your body.
Right.
And your body can reject or your body can accept because it's not you.
Right.
It's a foreign object. How have you learned to live with this foreign object inside of you? What's that been like for you?
Well, I didn't like it. It was hard. It felt hard, unnatural, and I was like, I just really, I didn't like it. It was tight, I just felt tight. Like I hated it. So, and initially when I first was, of course, when I start going into looking up, Googling and, videos and all that. So when I was first, diagnosed and talking with the breast surgeon and talking about what my options were, I was really interested in the deep flap surgery. So that's why I asked about that. And so the surgeon, she was like, well, you need to lose weight because she's like, because I like it to be real, because they pull your stomach tight. And she's like, and I, just to have the best results, you need to lose like weight in your stomach. So I was like, okay. So I
So was there time, because it sounds like from the time that you had the mastectomy and the expander, what was the time frame between that and getting the reconstruction?
So let me see. I had the surgery in April, and then I started chemo. So I started chemo in June of 2023. So the reconstruction was right away. Like in April when I had the mastectomy, that's when they put the expander in. And then I got the implant in November because I just didn't like, having all those issues. But we waited till after chemo before she was able to do the surgery to take out the implant and before radiation, because I did have radiation as well.
You had chemo and radiation?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I was able to get the deep flap. I'm glad. And I just had it in June of this year. So
hey, you're looking great.
Right? Thank you. So I had to lose. It was a long process, because when I think back about it, I'm like, this started 2 years, 2 years ago. And it's like just now, I was able to have that surgery, and it's even still stuff I'm doing. Like I have to, because right now I have to take a shot. It's called Zoladex. The needle's huge, and I take it every 3 weeks because I'm postmenopause. I'm not in menopause yet because of my age. So the medicine I take, I have to be in menopause, which is I'm still trying to figure out why that even makes sense. But I have to be in menopause to take the medicine that's supposed to like suppress my hormones and to stop the cancer from coming back. So I have to take this shot every 3 weeks, which is it's expensive. It's about, what I have to pay usually is about $1,300 almost every time until I meet my deductible, and then I don't have to pay anymore. So like for the first 3-4 months of the year,
you're paying that. But
I'm paying about $1,300 a month to take this shot
out of pocket. That's a lot.
Yep,
that's a lot. And your insurance covers none of that until.
Well, no, my insurance covers some of it. Okay, so I guess that's probably my co-insurance, I guess, of it. To meet up until I meet the deductible, and then I don't have to pay anymore after that.
Okay, so here we are. You've gone through all of this,
Right.
Who was your support? Who helped you? Who was by your side as you were going through this?
Definitely my family. My husband, he was there. He was really a really good support system. He was always just there. Like if I needed something when I was going through chemo, all of the surgeries, all of that, him, being there because I have two children. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, so at the time they were, a couple of years younger, but, my son, you could tell he was, kind of scared, not just not knowing, what's going on when you try to explain to them. And then when they see me, with my hair coming out, things like that, they see that and they see you sick.
Your hair.
I did. I ended up, because I was like comb through hair and it was just gob. So I just ended up getting it. My cousin is a barber. So I went to him and just had him just cut it all off. And they were there when that happened, when I was getting the cut. So, yeah, I did lose my hair. And,
I want to say that your peer you look like nothing's ever happened to
Right.
you. And I think that is a testament to your attitude and to your grace under fire. So what has life been like for you after cancer? I know there's still some things that are going on, but you're through kind of you're out of the war, so to speak, you know. So what's going on now? What's your life like now?
Now I'm all about like helping, trying to get the word out there. Recently, one of my really good friends who I went to college with, I mean, she's like a sister to me. We're in the same sorority. Like, she's my line sister on our sorority. She was diagnosed in December. So sometimes I feel like I went through that to be a help and a support, support for someone else who to be there for them, to be able to, because she's, I'm experienced that she can't talk to, there's nobody else really she could talk to about, to ask this or to, what is this like, what, to ask those questions that you really wouldn't know what to ask, or things like that. So I really feel like I'm going through this to help, to be able to help somebody else. I've been volunteering with different organizations, just to help spread the word, to just, because it's a lot of women out there, we hear 1 in 8 women are going to be diagnosed, that's kind of been stuck, in your brain. So it's like, that's a lot of people, and just, it's important to, because when I was first diagnosed, I was on Facebook. I joined all kind of Facebook groups. I'm like, I need to know what to expect. And so I'm just, I guess, glad that I'm able to be that for somebody else. And so that's pretty much what I am now. Like, I try to, encourage people and, to not look, I mean, because you have people who who go through cancer and they look, I mean, you hate to say, this sounds really bad, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that, like they look down and look, but it's like, I don't want that to be how I look. Like you said, I don't want you to look at me and say, oh, she, is a cancer survivor. Like, just because I look bad or, look like I've been through a lot. Like, I don't want to look like what I've been through. And I want to help other people to, just know you don't have to, dwell on that. Like, this is what I'm experiencing. You kind of go through the experience and then you come out to help somebody else.
Well, we're going to close out right there. That's a good way to end this, that you are helping other women go through their own struggles, because your cancer diagnosis was not your own. It was for somebody else.
Right.
Thank you so much for being with Beyonka. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Beyond the Bridge, a place of strength, support, and shared stories. If the conversation touched your heart, be sure to share it with someone walking this journey. And always remember, you are not alone. God walks with you, even in the valleys. Lean on His promises, trust His timing, and never lose hope. Until next time, may you be covered in grace, filled with courage, and surrounded by love. I am Jacqueline Anthony. For all of us at Bridge, thanks for joining the conversation.